We had a lovely little honeymoon period when we first arrived in Italy, but things with Sampdoria are on the turn. So I think we should start with the table, and there you are saying, what on earth are you talking about? You said that this was going to be a relegation struggle, and there you sit in 9th place with 3 wins and a draw and 10 points from your opening 7 games. It doesn't look like the honeymoon period is over to me. Well, I think if we jump into our run of form, you'll see why I am so worried about what lies ahead of us with Samp. So it was a lovely little start, a win in the Coppa Italia. You saw us beat 10-man Lazio 1-0 with that late goal by Neil Mopé. Then in our next game, we managed to win the derby against Genoa as well. It was 2-0, which looks fairly comfortable, but this was a very even game. It could have gone either way. Morten Torsby scored a very good goal to open for us, and then Fair raced through for the only time in this entire season to slot home a second, and the fans were pretty happy. 3 wins from our first 3 games, and we hadn't conceded a goal. Things were looking good, but then we bounced into the next game. We played Juventus. We created absolutely nothing against them. We only had 1 shot on target in the entire game, but we held them for an incredibly long time before Christopher Nkunku stepped up for a free kick and curled it past our keeper to give the old lady the victory. The next game also looks like a really solid result, a 0-0 draw with Internazionale, but Inter were bottom when we played them, and they're still hovering around the relegation zone now. So actually this was a game that we should have capitalised on and maybe won. Instead, we were very lucky not to lose. We had 2 shots over 90 minutes. Neither of them tested their goalkeeper. They had 16 shots. They really should have won the game. We were very, very lucky to escape with a point. We have picked up 1 other win this season. It came against Bologna. Luis Rojas bookended the game with 2 goals for the visitors, but sandwiched in between those 2 strikes, we had goals for Jakub Jankto, Gaetano Giannussi, and then a header from Mikel. But I think you will see that none of those strikes were particularly high percentage chances. 2 of them were from outside the box. The other was a header from a fair old distance out. We are not creating very good chances at all, and that was our downfall in the next game against Benevento. They scored reasonably early on in this game, and we needed a Morten Torsby header from a corner, another low percentage strike, to drag us back into the game. But straight after the halftime interval, Benevento managed to score the winner, and in the last game it was our most disappointing yet. Cremonese beat us 1-0 despite the fact that we made all of the running in this game. They scored in the 39th minute as they waltzed through our defence, but we had 22 shots, 7 of them on target. The XG indicates that we should have scored more than 2 goals, and yet here we came up with absolutely nothing. You'll see that this offset front 2 really hasn't been working for us. We've also had games where we've had poor performances from our midfielders as well, and today we could make it 3 defeats in a row, and if we did, it would be a bit of a disaster, because we're off to Sardinia to take on a Cagliari side who are in 18th place in the table. The game against Cremonese was played when they were in the relegation zone, and now they've jumped up the table. We couldn't lose to another team in the bottom 3, could we? So where do you go tactically when your team is up against it and not performing very well? That's right, you head back to a 4-4-2, God's own tactic. We are going to be making some tweaks for this game. We stuck with our offset 4-1-3-1-1 formation for the opening 7 games. It's performed well in some, it's gone off the boil in others. So we're going to change back to a flat 4-4-2. We're going to keep with a wide midfielder and a wide playmaker. Although the personnel have moved around a bit, we've brought Björkan back into the team as left back, and it's managed to free up the Bard to move further forward, which he can do. He's certainly quick enough for it. Describes him as an attacking fullback. I think he can be a wide midfielder out there, and Vignata is going to just switch over and play on the right flank. He's moved around a little bit over our games. He's even had some games as the number 10, because Fair, well, he isn't playing fair. He's been really poor, And so even though his attributes look pretty strong, I'm going to rotate him out of the side for today's game and see if it makes a difference. We've also brought Jerry St. Just back in as a right back. He had been playing as our defensive midfielder, but whoever we'd been playing at right back had been so weak that we're going to ask St. Just to play there instead. He's going to play as an attacking duty so he can hopefully overlap past Vignato, maybe even get some balls that Vignato supplies and get some delivery into the box. We're going to have Mopai and Mikhail both up front. Neither of them have looked very likely to score many goals this season. Maybe playing as a tandem veteran strike force might just aid them both. And it means that into the midfield, we're bringing in a new addition, a player who's going to be making his first appearance of the season today, Suleimani Kohli, who is a perfectionist, can play comfortably in central midfield, so that is good. He does like to play short, simple passes, so don't expect any raking through balls from him. Certainly not with passing of 12 and vision of 11, but he is 6'3". Physically, he looks pretty good for us, although the tackling and the bravery aren't ideal for a central midfield berth. We're going to see how he gets on alongside Morton Chorsby today, and Morton has been really strong so far. 34 years old, imagine having those physicals at 34. I didn't have them at 24. In fact, I didn't have them like that at any stage during my adult life. He's played very well as well. He's got 2 goals for us. I would like to see him chip in with some assists if we could. But this is the team that's going to go out there and take on a Cagliari side today that are having a hard time and lost 6-2 to Roma in their last game. Surely they can't spring a surprise. For today's game, we're travelling to the island of Sardinia to take on Cagliari. Surely this one has got to be a winnable tie against a team that are in the relegation zone and fresh off a heavy defeat last weekend. Yet Uruguayan coach Diego Lopez can call on some experienced players in the likes of Douglas Luiz, Jonas Wind, Serge Gnabry and Divock Origi. It has the early season feel of a 6-pointer as Cagliari Calcio take on Sampdoria. So my goodness, we could do with a performance today. We need Mikhail to step up. We need Mopai to step up. We need Vignato to be more creative. We need the Bard to contribute. And we've got a highlight very early on in this game. We are the away side. We're in our all-white change strip. And that player has to be a million miles offside, doesn't he? Well, Dahlberg tried to clear the ball. He made a complete mess of it. Luckily, he got it back. And Vignato, as the playmaker, manages to inadvertently link up. And the Bard gets forward, has an early effort. Let's see whether we can make some better chances going forward. We're still pretty early on in this first half. Our opponents have had a goal kick that they've sent forward. And they've put a windy ball into our box. He's run wide. But my goodness, they've struck a post. We looked open. They had acres of space and players flooding forward into our box, and they've struck the woodwork early. Now would be a great time to get a goal. Mikel sends the ball back to Mopai. St. Just plays in the Bard. The Bard is offside. He strikes the post anyway. We cannot finish any chances that we get. And now we're about to hit the halftime interval, tied with a team who lost 6-2 in their last match. So none of our players are playing too badly. We'll look at substitutions around the 60-minute mark, I think, but we're doing okay in this game. We just look, well, a little bit devoid of attacking impetus. We do have a very early highlight after the kickoff. It's gone over our back line, and our opponents have taken the lead. Just as I'm saying, we're not playing too bad. Moro manages to duck underneath a high ball from their defence. And it's put their striker through on goal, and Dahlberg may well have not even bothered being there. That's atrocious defending. It's not great goalkeeping either, and now we've got to come from behind. These boys need to sort themselves out quickly, otherwise, well, I think we're going to have to find a tactic that might be a bit unusual and maybe try and blast our way to some points, even though we might get some very heavy defeats. We've got Mikel in. He sent a header. The keeper has saved it on the line. I think that should be the end of that highlight. It's not. He sent another high ball forward. Again, they've won it and we haven't. and they could have scored a second goal. Time to make some changes, I think. We do have some poor performances out on the pitch, and I'm also going to change the formation. I'm going to bring Vignato into play behind a front two. I'm going to ask him to be an advanced playmaker, and I'm going to ask him to attack and try and get in the box as well. The Bard also has a little bit of ability, is playing as a central midfielder, and given our lack of options there, I'm going to ask him to jump inside and play in the middle alongside Torsby and Coley as well. So we're going to do away with wide men. We're going to play a 4-3-1-2. I think the Bard is going to be, well, I think he's going to be the box-to-box midfielder, and I think we're going to ask Torsby to be a deep-lying playmaker and give us a little bit of cover, and Buchanan we're going to ask to try and get a little bit further forward. We haven't really created any good chances so far. Now's the time. Maybe this could be our opportunity. We've got St. Just rampaging forward. He sends in a ball and nobody gets anywhere near it, unfortunately. And again, we've been beaten in the air. We're just being routinely undone by high balls by Cagliari. Wind gets the ball back now. And Douglas Luiz sends it to Nabry. And we finally headed it away. Mopai comes deep, brings the ball forward for us. St. Just is up from fullback again. There is... It's in. God, that trickled over the line. Vignata has moved behind the two front players. He got through very easily. And I thought he'd messed up his chance. It just hit one post, rolled all the way across the line and hit the other. He could have just run over and made sure. Instead, he stands still. He's confident that that's over the line. I'm not sure that is fully over the line. That confirms it, apparently. We're back at 1-1. Now we need to go and find a winner. In search of that goal, we're going to make a couple of changes. Mopai is not playing that well. We're going to bring on Juan Perez, who is pretty quick. He's only got finishing of 12. He can't concentrate. But we're going to focus on how pacey he is, and maybe he'll get a chance before the end of the game. And I also think we need to make a change in the defence as well, because Giacomo Mora is looking anxious, and he got caught out for the goal. So instead, we're going to bring on a central defender who's only 6'2", but does have a jumping reach of 17. Maybe Sebastian Rybashik might be able to deal with some of these high balls a little bit better. But at the other end, we also need to try and find another goal. Mope, before he makes way, has managed to wriggle his way into the box, and just has looked a lot more involved in the game since we changed our formation. And here's Buchanan as well, just removing the wide players ahead of them. Seems to have given them a little bit more license to get forward. 12 minutes to go now. We don't want to concede another goal, but they are in. And it's another goal that we have conceded. Micah Byreth has scored what could well turn out to be the winner for Cagliari. 6-2. They've just lost to Roma. Their confidence will be absolutely shattered. Who do you want to play to try and rebuild that confidence? That's right, Muggins over here. And we've got it all to do again at this point. Well, we take just 1 point, I think. We are straight into the highlights, though. We've got the ball. Vignata heads it on. Here is Perez, the player we bought on. Cut to the next highlight. Here it is. Here comes the equaliser. I am sure of it. Cagliari are going to be rocked to their very core in a moment. Here's Vignata. St. Just getting forward again. He sends a good ball into the box. Perez chases after it, gets it back to Buchanan. Okay, we're going to score with the next highlight. Guaranteed. The next highlight is the one that we equalise from. Here it comes, very late, but it's going to be the one that grabs us a point. We've thrown it straight to them, and Wind, goodness me, he has just dominated us today. And the equaliser did not come. We have lost 3 games in a row, 2 of them to teams in the relegation zone. We've had 18 shots, 7 of them on target. We should have scored more than 1 goal. They shouldn't have scored as many as us. And yet we've come away defeated again. So isn't it typical? You move to a club eager for the challenge of a relegation scrap, and then when you're heading towards one, when you have a dark sense of foreboding about it and you do anything for an easy 3 points. We're now down to 12th place. We're still on 10 points. You can see Cremonese and Cagliari, The two teams we've just lost to are both closing in on us. We're only 4 points above Lecce in the drop zone. We've got some serious thinking and tactical tinkering to do. Why don't you throw your ideas down in the comment section, because we are genuinely all ears for this one. I think we're in a bit of a dogfight.